friends, welcome to today's vlog. I am Sophia. This is Sophia Reads Everything, and today is going to be all about Christina Lauren. So I am going to a Christina Lauren book event tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Geese Book Shop in Franklin, Indiana. They are currently touring because if you guys did not know, Christina Lauren is a romance author duo. Two best friends who write really great, simple romances, nothing too smutty, that you could definitely recommend for anyone, in my opinion. So out of the 4 books that I own, I will say Love in Other Words is my favorite. If you guys are new to my channel, I did share a little bit about this already in my last video, but today I'm just going to be covering getting ready and then just the time, the experience. I'm not sure if they will let us film, but I do plan to take photos and obviously give you guys a summary recapping what happened. I do understand that the event gives everyone who purchases a ticket a copy of the latest book release, the Romance Revival, and it will be a signed book. So I'm so excited for that because I think that there is just something so heartwarming and magical and connecting with signatures from your favorite author in a book. It just makes it personal and it's a unique experience. So I will be going with my mother-in-law, and we both really like books, obviously, and thrifting for books. So naturally we are going to be heading out earlier than needed. That way we can stop at a half-price books in location on the way down because it is about an hour and a half drive for us. So this is gonna be a late night for me because Mama usually is in bed by 8:39 p.m. and I usually will read or enjoy a show with my husband. So I'm gonna be out late tonight getting crazy, and by getting crazy I mean going to bookstores and book events. So I have a couple books that I'm looking for, especially from Half Price Books, and it is a hint at a upcoming series that I plan to do involving the Goosebumps books series and rewatching the classic Goosebumps TV series. It's very nostalgic for me, and I have been hunting for Goosebumps books ever since I was little. I mean, I did not have money growing up, so the Scholastic Book Fair usually involved me getting a free bookmark and maybe a pencil. We just weren't given money to do stuff like that, and so I really loved the book fair, but it was also very melancholic, very bittersweet because I could never really just buy the books that I wanted to read. So I think for me with thrifting now, I can find books that I enjoyed as a kid and I get them now, that way I can read them to my daughters. And I also look for certain young adult books that I remember reading and just loving. That way I can have them as a memory as well as share them with my kids. So I do plan to be doing a Goosebumps book series. I have like maybe 10 original Goosebumps books. They are all out of order because I am not spending the money on the ugly, more modern updated cover books that are for sale at like Amazon and Walmart. I don't like those covers. I like the OG covers with the like embossed, textured Goosebumps logo and the old art because that's what I remember as a kid. So I do plan to do that as well. But for now, I'm just going to be sharing all about Christina Lauren. I read Love in Other Words in 2024, I believe, and this was actually a gift from my mother-in-law who also loved this book. Now, I was in a bit of a reading slump before 2024, and by reading slump I mean that I still probably read maybe 20 books a year, but it wasn't as much as I'm reading now. And so for me, 2024, this was one of the books that really propelled me back into reading, especially at a much quicker rate, because I kind of jumped into the world of modern contemporary romance at that time, which I had not really delved into. It was very limiting. I I go to Goodwill's, and when you go to Goodwill's as a romance reader, as a fantasy reader, as a thriller reader, you're typically going to see old mass market paperbacks for older authors like Sandra Brown, Mary Higgins Clark, you know, and then you also see things like maybe the old fantasy series and older just like Harlequin romance style books. It's not very often that you would go into a Goodwill a decade ago and find all of these modern books. It's a more recent thing that's happening with thrift stores, where you're seeing this turnover rate with modern books that are still new releases that you can thrift for now. So back then I was getting books by J.R. Ward, which is paranormal dark romance, Kinley McGregor, which is also Sherilyn Kenyon's pen name, which is a like a Scottish romance series. All fabulous. I love them all. Mary Higgins Clark was a really great author that I remember, like one of the first mystery thriller authors that I remember reading, which was for adult content, that I just loved. I was obsessed, and I own like almost every single Sandra Brown book, just because she did really well with writing both like typical romance, but also like crime thriller romance as well, which I loved. So that's kind of where I started out. And now I'm getting into authors like Lucy Score and Christina Lauren, and even the more popular books written by like Abby Jimenez, Megan Quinn, some of my favorites like Talia Hibbert, and just those styles of books, and even monster romance. It feels like I've taken a shift with romance, particularly from contemporary and gothic to dark and paranormal, and now I'm kind of getting into like the monster romances, or I'm reading more of like the gothic classic lit that involves these twisted stories of romance. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But as far as Christina Lauren goes, I know that you are allowed to submit questions for the event, and so I expect this to be about an hour and a half of a Q&A style event, where, you know, the person who is heading this conversation will be discussing, you know, her or both of their career paths and their decision making, obviously, like most book events do. But afterwards, there, if I'm not mistaken, there typically is a lineup where you can do a quick photo op, say a few quick words, and then be on your way. So I think what we're going to be doing is a tropical theme, because Wild Geese Book Shop hosts author events non-stop. If you live in the Midwest, look up Wild Geese Book Shop, because they have so many great authors. For example, my book club that I recently started a few years back, we are all going collectively to meet Riley Sager in August for his upcoming book, The Unknown. So we will be returning to the same location again in just a couple weeks. So I'm very excited to get familiar with the establishment, the process, because one thing about me is I am a mental health girly. Not only my higher education background, but also my PTSD diagnosis, it triggers anxiety. So a lot of times when I am going someplace new, I like to be familiar with the layout. I like to be familiar with the entry points or the exits, parking, you know, the location, all of the above. I like to have the information ahead of time. So I'm typically on Google Maps, I'm looking at the website, getting my information, and that kind of helps me to relax. So that is what I plan to do. Right now I have my face on, which I don't typically wear a lot of makeup. I am a simple girl, but I do love a good boho outfit. So I do plan to wear like a more bohemian tropical style dress that I have, that I will share with you guys later. Pair it with some sandals and my book tote, some sunglasses, and yeah, just comfortable, because it's going to be 90 degrees Midwest humidity. So I'm trying to be comfortable. I'll probably have biker shorts on underneath so I don't chafe, and I'm just here for a good time. So I think what I would like to do is to share any books that I do get from Half Price Books, be it Goosebumps books that I am still looking for, or any other book opportunities. I do enjoy Half Price Books because they always alternate, they rotate out their clearance sections very well, and they do offer both new releases, but also books that might be more difficult to find, especially for the fantasy books, and then the cozy romance, which, if you guys don't know, I do love cozy romance as well. Anything with a dog or a cat or a pumpkin or a coffee on the cover, you know, those murder mysteries, I love those as well. So that is usually where I like to go to look for those things. So I'm assuming that I will have something to share with you guys at the end of this. So I will give you the Half Price Books content. I do also plan to eat dinner with my mother-in-law, but I'm not really gonna vlog the entire thing. I want to make sure that we're having a good time, and I'm just gonna do my best to get some photos. I do think we plan to shop at the actual Wild Geese Book Shop, because a lot of times the events that the shop hosts are at venues or more open, spacious areas for the event, depending on how many people are coming. So we could be in the basement event space at the bookshop, or we could be somewhere across the corner. But we do plan to visit the actual bookshop because I have not personally shopped. I haven't been there, so it'll be a fun experience as well, visiting another small business, bookstore, and seeing what the book variety will be, because some bookstores, especially in our area, tend to lean more romance, which is fine because that's what sells. But I read everything, and right now I'm really into horror, and I'm really into looking for nostalgic finds, whether that be classic literature that I read when I was younger in like AP courses, or stuff like Goosebumps, scary stories, things like that. So I hope you guys will enjoy this video. This is going to be just simple cut and paste of the following night, and again, a little recap at the end to hopefully tie this all together. So I will talk to you guys later. I'm so excited.
Did you want to grab something? Or?
This is so exciting.
I'm gonna guess they're gonna have other books by them that are available. Nobody told me these rocked.
So we do not agree on everything. The thing is our disagreements are never, ever, ever about the book, which is so weird. Anytime we fight, it's just because we're like annoying each other or something. Just like you would your spouse, your sister, your best friend, whatever. Because you would never want to be in a relationship with somebody that you couldn't disagree with. So if we have a book thing, which I can't even think of one that we have veto powers. And Christina and Lauren. Awesome. Thank you so much.
This is actually orange juice. Our microwave broke. That's a chat for another time. But good morrow, friends. It is the next day. It is very early, which is why I have this sultry voice. This is my morning voice. So I had such a great time. We ended up making it down. It was about a 50-minute drive to get to Wild Geese Book Shop. The bookstore was so cute. It was a bungalow style home that had been it had been a little modified and turned into a bookstore. And I just want to say kudos to Wild Geese Book Shop in Franklin, Indiana, for having such a vast array of books, bookish items, kids sections, signed books. It was one of the biggest signed book sections that I had seen. And I know that they do host author events, but blown away. Really great experience just in the store alone. The cozy environment really forces you to kind of rub shoulders with other readers as well and jump in and out of conversations. And you just end up making friends in that shop. So I also did take a photo with the little kid, Goose, holding the stack of books because I just had to. And so that was a 10 out of 10. Then after we stopped, we went to the Art Craft Theater. It's the historic Art Craft Theater in Franklin, Indiana, where they do movie showings, typically more themed showings during holiday times and discounted movies the other times of the year. It's really fabulous. Everything's very retro, very old school movie theater where, you know, the stage is still set below the screen where you could do, you know, an actual event, plays, and actually show a movie at the same time. It is a single movie room theater, and I am obsessed with it. I have been years ago, and I love that they still are active and involved with community events like author events. So I will say this though, we did make a stop at Half Price Books as well. And my plan for the rest of this video is to just give a little preface, show the video clips, and then do a summary. So I don't want to chat too much. I want to show you guys all the great stuff. But we did stop at Half Price Books as well. So we have a Half Price Books haul, a Wild Geese Book Shop haul, and then the event itself and like an overall recap. So I'm going to insert some clips right now about Half Price Books, the drive, the shop, the vibes, the Q&A moments with Christina Lauren. I did end up getting to ask 2 questions and it was the best. I'm so excited. So I hope you enjoy this little portion of the video. Be sure to watch till the end if you are curious about the fabulous books that I found at these bookstores. In a room full of people, I look for you. Tell me. Ooh. Okay, so let's start with Half Price Books. I am just getting my stack organized here because there's so many fabulous books that I did find, and I want to give you guys ample opportunity to hear about all of them and where I got them and price, etc., etc. So here we go. My Half Price Books book stack. Here we go. Now, first, I have The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. And this is a classic. This edition is a Bantam classic. I love this cover. And I don't know about you guys, but The Hunchback of Notre Dame, especially the Disney film, broke my heart as a kid. And I am such a stickler for justice and fairness. So that movie just, I think, really pushed those characteristics that I had at the time as a kid and really settled them into my being. I was obsessed, and I will say I have never read the book and I have been looking for it. And if you guys are new to my channel, I collect mass market paperback classics. I only want the mass markets. I don't want the weird modernized covers unless that's the only way I can get them. So this was a wonderful find, and it was only $2.99, and it's in really good condition compared to some of the others. So it says, before the huge crowd that packed the cathedral square, Esmeralda stood between 2 executioners. Suddenly, Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, rushed at the executioners and felled them with his enormous fists. He snatched the gypsy girl in one arm and ran with her into the church. A moment later, he appeared at the top of the bell tower. Holding the girl above his head, he showed her triumphantly to all of Paris while he thunderously voiced savagely to the sky, "Sanctuary, sanctuary, sanctuary." So this is set amid like the riots of medieval Paris. Because if you guys did not know, Paris was very cuckoo bananas back in the day. So this is I think this was published in like 1830s, 1831, and it is just stuck with readers, and for good reason. So I'm very excited to dive into this book. It's not too long. It's like just under 300 pages. So this will be a quick read for me, and $2.99, can't beat it. Now, if you have not watched my library haul videos yet, Ghost Story by Peter Straub is one of the books that I had checked out from the local library, and I'm about 70% of the way done. I do want to go ahead and return it, but I have been looking for a copy of this for months, and I just happened to find this one at the Half Price Books in Greenwood, Indiana for only $4.99, and it is in great condition for $4.99. So I had to grab it. This is not your typical ghost story. This follows 4 men who are later in their lives, and they kind of get together to tell stories, but there is one horrible incident, a terrible mistake that happened, and it seems to haunt this group and the town as well. So definitely recommend. This is an older author, older books, but so good. And then last but not least, I love a clearance section, and Half Price Books has one of the best clearance sections. This is We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. It says best-selling author of Behind Her Eyes. And this, look, sprayed edges, but it's not done in like a tacky way. It really suits the cover well. And it's giving a little bit of like maybe European or maybe Scottish marshlands. I'm not sure, but I really love this artwork here. And this says it is a riveting modern Gothic full of clever twists and surprises that have become Sarah Pinborough's trademark. It says a haunting novel about a house and a marriage gone terribly wrong. Sorry guys, it is still very early in the morning, so my voice is not fully ripened yet, but this is giving horror, Gothic, haunted house vibes, and also domestic thriller. I love them both. So my mother-in-law actually saw this and was like, hey, look, haunted house book, spooky ooky. And I was like, yes, please. This is a hardback. It is a newer release with sprayed edges, and it was only $7. So woohoo. Also, guys, I am doing a book buying ban. It's something that I do every year. Typically, I will start it at the end of summer, and I don't buy any more books the rest of the year. I don't buy anything until after the new year, and you'll see my reading pattern too if you follow me on Fable and Goodreads. It's very slow around December, January, February, and then it just blasts off from March back to, November. So I try really hard to thrift for most of my items, but we did end up going to a secondhand bookstore, Half Price Books. Fully support Half Price Books. I used to work at Half Price Books back in the day. And so compared to Barnes & Noble, I definitely support Half Price Books. I recommend supporting them as well for various reasons. But I try my best to put my money where it matters. Oh my God, you guys do not hate me. But that is why I did purchase quite a few books from Wild Geese Book Shop and Half Price Books versus just ordering off of Amazon or going to Barnes & Noble. And Barnes is expensive, guys. I see a lot of TikTokers saying, let's go to Barnes, it's Tuesday. And I'm just like, you just blow money, and you just don't care where it goes. And I understand that the job, it comes with the territory, but at the same time, not everybody has that kind of money, and not everybody wants to support certain big businesses in that way that often. I really try hard to go to thrift stores for environmental reasons first. Go to small bookshops to support local small business. And you can buy new books from these smaller individual owned bookshops. So now that we have finished my Half Price Books rant, we are on to Wild Geese Book Shop. And The Romance Revival. Now, this is the book that I was given from the event, and there are lots of goodies inside, so I will share that at the end because I have 3 books to share. And I will say Wild Geese was so sweet. I didn't know that they did this, but they put a bookmark in each book. So I have Wild Geese Book Shop bookmarks now in every single book, and I thought that was really sweet. It's kind of like how Book of the Month and Aardvark do their bookmarks for each book that you get from the book box subscriptions. So I'm going to share what I have. I also have been trying really hard to only purchase books that I have already read via the Libby Hoopla apps or my local library and enjoyed, or a Kindle deal, because I want to do a better job with spending my money, especially for books when it's something that takes up so much space in your home. I have almost 1,000 books already, and I really need to be meticulous and conscientious. I need to be very, what is that freaking word, you guys? I just need to be very intentional with my purchases. So you guys, I have read, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many books already for July. It's over 10 books, but one of my favorites for July is The Lamb, and I will be doing a monthly wrap up at the end of July, so you will not miss any of these books. But The Lamb by Lucy Rose is one of my favorite books this year. It's also written in a folk tale style. The prose is fabulous. It's very engrossing. You are really immersed with this read, and I love a good haunting story. And so this is a story that follows a mother-daughter relationship, but it's very tumultuous, and they also have a cannibalistic lifestyle, and it is crazy wackadoo cuckoo bananas, but it's evocative, it is profound, it is emotional, it's heart-wrenching, and it really just shows how female rage especially can manifest into some of the darkest events, because just like in true history and in true events, you seem to realize that the women in our history that do go cuckoo bananas, it's not necessarily because they were cuckoo bananas from the start, and there's usually intense provocation or an intense circumstance from a very young age that kind of just cracks these women open to the point where they just snap and they don't snap back. So I definitely recommend The Lamb, and I will be doing comparison reads comparison book reviews, because I did read other books in the same subgenre of horror that I do feel like when compared to The Lamb or analyzed parallel, this book supersedes in my opinion. So if you're curious about horror, about all of this femme rage, femme gore, cannibal books, sapphic reading, I definitely will be sharing more at the end of the month. So do subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Now, next we have a more cozy read. And again, with the mushrooms here, I don't know what is going on with this mushroom foraging and the artistry, the symbolism. When I think of mushrooms, it either makes me think of like trippy hippie, or it makes me think of this like wet, moldy, dark, and I do see that in a lot of the mushroom books that are coming out now. They are either cozy fantasy, like this book, Field Guide for the Formerly Villainous by Autumn K. England, or it's very dark, like what is the one? What book did I just read by T. Kingfisher? It's not While the Dead Sleep. There was a book that I read, and I will have to find the title, but basically it was similar vibes, but it was more like moorlands and fungi that were unaliving people, but make it gothic and creepy, and it's just a vibe. So I was curious to see, since I have read the more dark mushroom madness, what a cozy mushroom read would look like. So this says, "Welcome home, weary traveler. When Oakland Nettlewood accidentally joined an evil world-ending cult, mind control magic forced them to do unspeakable things. Years later, the realm's heroes have finally saved the day, defeated the villain, and shattered the last remnants of the spell, leaving destruction in their wake. And so, with a spell-demanding memory and a whole bushel of trauma, Oakland escapes to a small farm on the edge of Mossly Rests and swears an oath. After all the things they were forced to do with their magic, they will never use it again. Ever." So this kind of touches on healing and redemption and trauma, and, you know, maybe certain people do deserve second chances, and there's a lot of morality here in this book, just from my understanding of the back and its description, and how it's not always a black and white process of understanding and persecuting, because this says, "What does it mean when an inquisitor comes to the town to hunt former cultists?" And it's just at the moment when Oakland starts to think that maybe he deserves a happy ending. So there's more to these books. When you see cozy books, and I'm not talking about like the Cheesecake Golden Girls books, or the, you know, the hot cocoa, chai, apple pie, Christmas cupcake books. I'm talking about these kinds of styles of cozy reads. You will find that there are typically more meaningful messages behind the cozy, and I really appreciate that. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a Guard in the Garden book that I want to read, which is another cozy kind of magical fantasy realm, but it addresses mental health struggles like PTSD. So highly recommend cozy reads, especially because they're not triggering physically. So last but not least, Butter by Asako Yuzuki. So, or Asako. I'm so sorry. I need to try to do my research on pronunciation, but I'm going to guess, well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to say Yuzuki. So this is Butter, and it's basically another cannibalistic serial unaliver vibe with this book. It says that there are two things I simply cannot tolerate: feminists and margarine. So this book follows a gourmet cook named Menako Kaji, who sits in the Tokyo detention house convicted of the serial unalivings of lonely businessmen whom she is said to have seduced with her delicious home cooking. Okay, so already intrigued. The case has captured the nation's imagination, but Kaji refuses to speak with the press, entertaining no visitors. That is, until journalist Rika Machida writes a letter asking for her recipe for beef stew, and Kaji cannot resist writing back. So Rika is the only woman in her news office, and she works late every day. She barely cooks anything more than ramen noodles. And this visit unfolds between her and Kaji, and they are really diving more into like the realm of a master course on cooking more than the reasons that she is currently behind bars. And so she starts to recognize that she and Kaji have more in common than what she thought. And it says that it is inspired by a real case of a convicted con woman and serial unaliver. The Kankatsu killer, Asako Yuzuki's Butter, is a vivid, unsettling exploration of misogyny, obsession, romance, and the transgressive pleasures of food in Japan. So again, this is kind of in that realm of, you know, female rage or, you know, misunderstood womanhood, and make it Japanese cooking, which obsessed. And also Butter Yellow is totally hot, very in. This cover was not only smart in its design with color choices, but also the very simplistic graphic design here is very attention drawing. And then like the colors, the red and the yellow psychology colors here for hunger and food, and it just draws your attention. It's very well chosen as far as book covers go. I thought this was probably one of the best book covers that I have seen for content like this. Very wise, very smart. And it does say it's from the author of Hooked, which I have seen this book around, but I have not read it. So maybe I can get my hands on that before I start my book ban. But okay, guys, last and certainly not least, we have Christina Lauren. This book event was fantastic. I had such a great time. There was plenty of AC. There was plenty of room for everyone. I felt like they did a great job with the question panel. Nikki Payne was there, as well as, oh my gosh, please don't let me blank on her name now. Her last name is Lee, and of course I can't remember her name right now, and I'm so sorry. This is totally my fault for waking up and thinking I could do this immediately. But the panel I shared consists of 4 wonderfully talented women, all who write various genres of romance, and also in the holidays is going to be adapted, what is wrong with me? Adaptation for Netflix. It's a Christmas rom-com written by Christina Lauren. So we did get one of the first printed bookmarks with this design and imagery from the movie. And then you also get a really sweet, it's almost like a postcard style image here of the main characters, which I will go into a little bit, because this book is definitely different than most. And I will say that I was pleasantly surprised to learn that Lauren of the CeeLo group, Christina Lauren, actually has a PhD in neuroscience, which I love that, but it kind of ties into this book because they explained that there is this couple here in the romance revival. It's involved with scientist Emery Finch and her marriage to Luca, who is this really attractive landscaper. So they are married, and she is very career focused and not so much marriage focused. And it kind of bites her in the butt when Luca has this accident that ends up actually unaliving him, but due to certain technology at the time, he's able to be brought back, thankfully. However, there is an unfortunate circumstance where he cannot remember anything. He can't remember her, their marriage, the bad as well as the good. And so it's kind of like the movie The Vow. It made me think of the Channing Tatum film, but reverse it and also have different plot aspects, and it sounded really interesting. It's obviously kind of giving like second chance, even though the marriage wasn't broken quite yet, and it's just trying to show that love is a choice every day. It's not something that you can also neglect. There will be consequences, and how it feels to learn that something that you had may not be able to be maintained. Like, she might have just lost him forever. There might not be a way to save what they had. And, you know, how does she navigate this difficulty? Will they make it as a couple by the end of this book, or won't they? So I was very, very pleasantly surprised. This is a book of theirs that is a little different, and they did say that they were working on another book about 1.5 years ago, but they did not want to publish. They just felt like it was not right, was not good enough, just didn't feel good, so they chose not to publish. And it's not that they've been just behind the scenes and taking a break. They've been hard at work, and I think that this really speaks to their professionalism, especially with the publishing industry at this time, trying to just push for any and everything written by these authors who are already well known. And I just think that that is so admirable. It's just admirable. I appreciate hearing about that aspect of, you know, their writing process and being authors who work together. And it was also interesting to hear about the duo and the dynamic and how writing as a pair works for them, especially with romance where you have all these steamy scenes and like how are they writing the scenes? Is one person one character and the other person the other character? So learning about that was very fascinating and insightful. I think that they do it well because from what they said, Christina is really good at plot and moving the story and making sure that there's enough happening in the story. And then you have Lauren, who is very good at the prose and the heartfelt moments and all of the in-between with the emotion. And I just think that it works so well. So kudos to them. It was also funny to learn that they kind of started off as Wattpad Twilight fan fiction writers and that they actually met at a fanfic book Comic-Con event. So that is like the dream. I would love to bump into someone and just have this like besties at first sight vibe and just start writing books that people just eat up. But that is all I have to share right now. I will say that the event was well worth it. The price was affordable. If you are in the Midwest, look at venues in Louisville, in Southern Indiana. These small bookstores invest so much time and energy and they are dedicated, and you would be surprised at how many author events are hosted. And I also found a library free author event of the book of the month book Pretty Dead Things that I just shared in my last video, and I did end up registering. So I will be going to that author event as well in a couple weeks, and I will be going to the Riley Sager event as well at the start of August. So we will have a lot of bookish content with author book events that I will be sharing with you guys. But for now, thank you for watching until the end. Thank you for caring about reading, support literacy, and do your best to check out your local library or maybe a small business bookstore. But that is all I have for right now. So thank you guys for watching, and I will chat with you later.